Oh my goodness. So, beloveds, this month we have been talking about the art of flourishing. The art of flourishing. How to grow luxuriantly, even, which show us the demonstration, Jen, exactly, right? Right. So we have a demonstration here of flourishing. Let's see everyone do that, please. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Right. The art of flourishing, right? Growing luxuriantly, growing abundantly, right? Overflowing even at a time where the news wants to tell us there's not enough, right? Even when at a time where the news wants to say, we're shutting everything down and this is happening and that's happening, close, batten the hatches, right? And we're looking at how do we flourish even in times that are turbulent, because we are here to thrive and flourish. That is why we are planted here on this rocket ship called Earth, right? So, what's really delightful for me when this happens is that my talk is not anywhere on this iPad. So, we're just going to roll with it because clearly Spirit had another idea. And so, today's talk title is Be Yourself. Be yourself, right? And one of my favorite quotes in the whole world is Be yourself because everyone else is already taken, by Oscar Wilde, right? Be yourself because everyone else is already taken. And I think that is obviously Oscar Wilde was a playwright and maybe philosopher, certainly a wit and a dandy who lived in the 19th century. Is it y'all? 19th century, yes. And his quotes are just incredible. So this is one of my favorite ones, and I think it's also very metaphysical, right? Everyone else is already taken. So let's talk about what that means. The divine presence, as we know, this one life, this one power, this one presence that created each of us out of itself. It is all powerful. It is inexhaustible. It is indestructible. It is all intelligent. That is what science of mind teaches us, that there is this intelligence that knows, that is, that shall ever be. And it created each of us out of itself, right? And so what that means is that there are no copies. There are no extras. There's nothing that's created that is not necessary. There's no person created that is not necessary to the whole, right? Because each of us is a unique expression of this massively intelligent, overflowing divine presence, right? You like that? Yes, yes, that is the truth. That is the truth. And so this quote is saying, be yourself, be who you are uniquely, be who God wants to express as you uniquely, because everyone else is already taken. Everyone else is expressing in their unique way, right? And so that is what we're called here to do, is to be yourself, not someone else. And there's some things that get in the way of being yourself, right? There's some things that get in the way of really being that which God created you to be. And let's talk about what those things are, right? So one of the things I see a lot is I see people masking, right? Putting on a mask. And whether that mask is a smiley face or whether that mask is a grumpy face or a smiley, grumpy face, right? But I see people putting on masks a lot, right, in order to get through life. It's something we learn typically very young. There might be a mask you have to put on to get through life in your family, right? There might be a mask you have to put on to get through society, to get through your culture, whatever it is, right? And we learn to put on this mask. The mask may be a mask that is always smiling and pleasant and pleasing and people-pleasing, right? There may be another mask that you wear. And the thing about masks is that it does a couple of things. One, it hides your true nature. It hides that authentic, gritty, granular, textured part of you that's you. The very thing that makes you you, the things that make you distinct, the things that make you unique can be hidden behind a mask, right? And other things that happen, I remember when I was in theater school, my degree is in theater. And I remember being in theater school, and we went through, part of the training is you have to wear a mask. You have to do mask work, right? And so sometimes they were masks that were made for us. Sometimes it might be a mask with a face. But you might be asked to go through a scene with this mask on, right? And there were things you discovered as an actor in that process is once you put a mask on, you became another person. It would unlock other things in your personality. And for the purposes of theater, it was fantastic because it might unlock another side of the character you're working on. It might unlock a different part of your personality that you don't typically access, right? So the mask became a tool to expand expression or to allow you to unlock other sides of yourself, right? And in the negative version, what we also see is because that mask gives a way to hide, then we also see how masks can be very, very scary, right? We are seeing right now where there are people arresting people and those people have masks on, right? They have their faces covered, right? Because the other thing that we discover in theater school is that when you wear a mask, you can then act out of your own character, right? When you're wearing a mask, it unlocks you to act in ways that you might not normally do. Right now, in theater, in a play, that might be a really good thing. In life, that is not a good thing. Right? When you're able to hide behind something, then you can do things that you wouldn't normally do. You behave in ways you wouldn't normally behave. Yes? And so masking is a very, very, very tricky and slippery slope. And when we learn to wear a mask all the time, whatever that mask is, it keeps us from allowing that divine expression, that one life, that individualization of God that wants to express through us. It stops that because it has to conform to the mask, right? It has to conform to the mask. And so my invitation to you today is to let the mask go, whatever mask you're wearing, wherever you're wearing it, because you may not wear it here at the center, right? But you may be wearing it at work. You may be wearing it in business. You may be wearing it with family members. You may be wearing it other places where you have this false representation that's happening so that you can fit in, please others, whatever it is, versus if you let the mask go and let the divine presence activate, that's active within you, allow it to express as you, you will see your career skyrocket. You will see your business grow. You will see that you're reaching people and connecting authentically. Your relationships are strengthened. Because I don't know about you, but have you ever met somebody who's wearing a mask and you can feel it, so you see what's happening, but you're feeling some other energy? Has that ever happened for you, right? And when you meet someone where you sort of see what you see what they're putting out there, right? But you feel something different, what does that produce in you? How do you feel about that person? Suspicious. Trepidation. Right. Distrust. Exactly. So it builds distrust. In my coaching practice, we call that being incongruent. Right. When I work with executives on executive presence, that's incongruent. If you're presenting one thing, if you're presenting one thing, but your emotional state or your energetic state is different than what you're presenting, it creates distrust in the audience. Now all of a sudden there's a difference, there's a distance that's created there. Yes? And so when you let that mask go and have the courage to let it go, because you know that the truth is that you are created out of the divine presence. You are created by something that knows you intimately and knows where you're placed on this earth and knows what you're here to do and knows how to do all of that through you. And when you trust that, you can let the mask go and just be yourself. Are y'all feeling what I'm saying? Yeah. Just be yourself. Yeah. And so there's another thing that happens when we are not allowing ourselves to be ourselves, right? Another thing that happens or stops that is when we imitate others. We become copycats, right? Oscar Wilde also said, I think it was Oscar Wilde who said, the best imitation is the best form of flattery that mediocrity gives to greatness, right? That's the last part that is held off of that, right? Imitation is a form of flattery that mediocrity gives to greatness, right? So when we are copying others, and I don't mean, we all look at others and see things we aspire and we really work on doing that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when you're looking at other folks and you want to copy what they do. Right? You take their words, you take their persona, you take their presence, you take their whatever it is that you see that you want, and you begin to do that yourself. Yes. And that can be temporarily a great way to grow some muscle and to learn and to develop your own style. And many times that's what happens as we're trying something new. as we're learning a new skill, right? We apprentice with someone perhaps, or we're mentored by someone. If we're talking about ourselves at work, we're looking at other leaders and looking at the skills that they have, and we might model that, right? We might put that on temporarily. And it's wonderful as a temporary way to develop. Right? If you're an artist and you're apprenticing with someone, you're learning an instrument or learning a trade, you do begin to do work and do the same things that your teacher does, right? That your mentor does. Right? I remember being back at Agape, and when many of us were finding our voice as practitioners, I remember seeing people who literally would talk like Reverend Michael Beckwith, like literally talk like him, who did not normally talk like him. Okay? Right. And it was very obvious, right? The people who took his cadence, took his words, took his gestures, but that's not how they lived in. That's not how they moved through life, right? But part of it was that was the learning process. He was our teacher, and there were people who took that on for a while. Yes, and so that is okay temporarily. But if you're chronically copying what other people are doing, right, chronically looking around the corner, hovering and watching what someone's doing, so you can adopt that yourself, then what it's saying is that what it's doing is it's keeping you from your greatness. It's keeping you from your own unique expression of greatness, right? Because you're just mimicking what you're seeing. And so it allows you to stay mediocre, right? Because you're not actually expressing in the way that the divine wants to express through you. You're copying what somebody else is doing, right? And not making it your own. Are y'all following what I'm saying here, right? So this kind of mimicking and copying is a way to stay small, right? And pretend that you're something that you are not. Yes. And the divine is here to play and express through and as you. It's not here. If it wanted to be another person, it's that person already. It's already that person, right? It's already that idea. It's already whatever that is. It's here uniquely as you. There's a story that Ernest Holmes tells in, I don't remember what book, maybe this thing called You. And there's this wonderful little booklet from the Science of Mind archives called Be Yourself that Ernest Holmes wrote. And we'll make sure it's in the newsletter that comes out on Wednesday or Thursday. I'll put the link in there so you can see that. But it's a nice little 5-page booklet. But in this booklet, that's where it is. He tells the story, this ancient fable, he calls it, of the gods are creating humans, right? And they're deciding, where should we hide the divinity that they have? Where should we hide the divine spark? And so one of the gods says, oh, okay, let's put it up in the sky. And another god says, no, that they'll find it there. Humans will be so creative that they will create flying machines. They'll be able to find it there. And so someone else says, okay, well, let's put it in the ground. They'll never be able to find it there. And another god says that they can't put it in the ground because humans will create some machines and they'll drill into the ground and they'll be able to pull it out, right? And then someone else says, let's put it somewhere else. And they're going around with all these ideas. And then finally, one god says, I know where they will never find it. Let's put it deep within each of them because they will never look there, because humans will always be looking outside of themselves for that power, for that spark, right? And so by putting it within the individual, it is deeply hidden. Because what this world does, the world keeps us spinning and spinning and spinning. And right now, especially with social media, right, it keeps us engaged. Like we cannot even sit and be still because we're constantly snagged by a headline, of being on the phone, of this, of that, whatever's going on, right? And so we're constantly externally focused, constantly looking for solutions outside of ourselves. And when we look at younger generations who are the digital natives, how their whole minds are shaped by what is happening online. Their sense of human reality is based on what is happening on Instagram, right? These very curated images that are not real for the most part, yes? And so when we think about the story that Ernest Holmes tells about the divine spark being buried within each of us, because it's the place that the place where we are least likely to look for it, yes? And the beautiful thing about this community is we are here because we know that divine spark is buried within us. Because we feel it. We feel it stirring. We feel it's whispering. We feel it surging. We feel the energy of it. We see it out picturing in our lives. And we want to see and feel and sense more of it and more of it and more of it and more of it to really feel and sense and know that presence within. This is what Jesus the Christ meant by the kingdom is within, right? The kingdom within. It is not out there, right? And so the invitation is to really look at that divinity that is within your very own being, and how will you let it express and unleash it to the world. In branding, when a company or an individual, when you talk about their brand or their personal brand, there are lots of ways that business talks about it. And usually it's something like, your brand is what other people think of you. Now, I don't agree with that. I do branding work with executives. I don't agree with that. I think your brand is the divine stamp, right? It's the divine design that already exists within you. There's a divine pattern, Ernest Holmes says, that exists within you. And the more you let that pattern emerge, the more differentiated you are from others, the more unique you are. And that's what creates value in a brand, right? A brand's value is based on its unique properties, its uniqueness. How are you unlike others, right? What is distinct about you? What are the skills and tools that you bring, or the specific problems that only you can solve in your way, right? That is what makes a successful brand. And when you look at all of the big brands, they've differentiated themselves in some way, right? Apple, now Apple is ubiquitous. It's something that we see all the time. But when it first emerged and there were only PCs, and here comes this brand that is, very minimalist, like the design is like minimalist and very intuitive and clean lines, right? Because Steve Jobs said was a Buddhist, right? He had studied calligraphy in college, right? There were very distinct and unique experiences he had that amplified through that brand that is Apple, right? That has now become probably one of the most valuable, if not the most valuable brand on the planet. But it started with an individual who let the divine presence express through him uniquely, right? Doesn't mean that he was a perfect person, but he let the divine presence express through his calligraphy background, through his Zen Buddhism background, through his interest in technology, through his mind and the visionary, the things he was seeing that the world needed, and that would bring us together even more, right? And so this is called being yourself. Being yourself. Right? Being yourself, allowing that which is within you to express. Because here's the thing, each of you, in addition to having that divine spark within you, has very unique experiences. You've come through very unique experiences through your family, right? There are things you learned and were shaped in terms of your family, maybe in terms of your culture, maybe in terms of your gender, maybe in terms of your race. There are things and ways you've been shaped in your walk through life. Right? Your first jobs, the job you're on now, the skills you've acquired. Like all of this is this beautiful, 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 abundant bowl of you that is trying to arrange itself and trying to express itself. And when that divine pattern emerges, it pulls all of these things together in a unique way. And that's when your life opens up. That's when your business takes off. That's when your world opens up, your relationships flourish. That's when your success becomes so unstoppable that you have no competition. No one can compete with the divine pattern expressing for anything, right? And so this is what is meant by be yourself. You are already divinely designed. You are already a beautiful pattern that is just waiting to emerge, and your personality becomes in service to the pattern. Your personality is here to serve the pattern, the divine pattern. Are y'all following what I'm saying? Yeah. So this is what is meant by be yourself. Everybody else is already taken, right? Because they're being themselves. Right? So be yourself and watch how the world opens up for you. Watch how your life opens up. Watch how success opens up. You know, even as I look at our beloved center, our little startup, Silicon Valley Center for Spiritual Living, what's becoming clearer and clearer and clearer to me, and it was from the beginning, but even more, it's getting more and more amplified. There is a divine pattern for this center. There is a divine idea, and there's a reason it came through me, who is, I was a theater major. I was an executive leadership coach. I owned a business. I was an actor. All these different things. There's a reason this is coming through me. Because there's a lot of people this center could come through, right? And so what my walk right now is really discovering and aligning with the divine idea that is this place, right? What is unique about us? What differentiates us? What is the divine pattern here? Because we weren't created, we weren't birthed to be like every other place. We're birthed to do something different. And the more we're aligned to what that is, the more we're open to what that is, the more we're willing to let go of how it's been done before, let go of what everybody else is doing, let go of what it should look like, the more that divine pattern can emerge through us, right? And it will call unto itself. It will call what is needed unto itself, right? So I invite you to just stay in this journey with me as we let this divine pattern emerge through us, because it is amazing, is it not? It is amazing. It is amazing, right? To watch this being born, yes, and to be a part of birthing it, and to allow the pattern to emerge in each of us individually and then collectively. You are not here by mistake. You are not here by mistake. You are not here by mistake. You are here for a purpose and a reason. You are made for this season. You are made for right now. God loves you so much. It decided to express as you, and it knows you intimately. It knows the foibles, it created them. It knows the imperfections, it created them. It knows the strengths and the superpowers and the distinct and unique qualities, it created them. Right? You are loved. You are here for a reason and a purpose. And so it is completely safe to be yourself. Yeah. To be yourself. Yeah. Yes, everyone else is already taken. Let's turn within.